Hi, Kevin Coop here, and this is FaceTime with the Content Guy, coming to you today from Chicago, where I'm attending the Food on Demand show. I've never been to this show before, and I thought it'd be kind of interesting to be here to get a sense of this segment, how it's growing. It's largely attended by restaurateurs, and I'm kind of curious to see how they are dealing with the situation. And it's sort of fascinating. You know, it's the same consumer trend that they're dealing with, that supermarkets are dealing with, right? People who want things delivered as opposed to going to the store, going to a fast food restaurant, going to a restaurant, whatever it happens to be. And there were some interesting stories that we were hearing, some success stories, some skepticism, that sort of thing. But clearly, the restaurant industry is concerned about a customer class that more and more is interested in ordering in and having it delivered as opposed to going to the restaurant itself. You know, it's interesting to me that the restaurant business kind of approaches it differently. You know, a lot of restaurants that will be dealing with multiple vehicles of delivery, right? They'll deal with GrubHub, they'll deal with Uber Eats, they'll have a DoorDash, right? They'll deal with multiple services. So they're not locked into one delivery brand the way some supermarkets are when they make a choice to, let's say, go with Instacart. Yeah, I know, everybody knows how I feel about Instacart. So it's an interesting problem. I thought it was fascinating. There was a guy who spoke from GrubHub who was really interesting when he talked about the idea that their main goal is to service the brand, right? They don't want to be identified as the brand. They want to just service the brand. And they want to be the best at servicing the brand because they want people to choose GrubHub as opposed to choosing one of the other guys. It was interesting to me that he was asked a question at one point, would you ever consider opening your own restaurant? He goes, absolutely not. We're not good at the restaurant business. We're not. Everybody in this room knows about the restaurant business. What we know about is delivery. That's what we can do. Now, he did leave the door open, however, to the idea that they could get into the commissary business. They could open so-called dark restaurants and maybe have a facility where multiple restaurants could actually prepare food only for delivery. And some of them might even be restaurants that don't even have brick and mortar, right? They might create their own dark restaurant, and they would only be an online brand. That would be a really interesting way to go. Branding is also important. There was a guy from a company called, let me just make sure I get it right here. It was a company called Bite Squad. Make sure I get that right. Bite Squad. And listen, they got a really tiny part of the marketplace, but one of the things they're proud of is they have clean vehicles. And one of the things they said was really important was maintaining a culture where cleanliness was absolutely number one. And that's one of the reasons when they hire their employees, they pay them hourly as opposed to paying them per delivery. They said because that way they're going to be more connected to the company culture. They're just going to keep their vehicles cleaner, and that means the customers are going to have a better experience. Interesting exchanges. The only person I've met here so far that I really, really disagree with is a guy who was sitting at our lunch table who was sort of cranky about the whole thing, thought that the experience was a waste of time. He goes, I'm not worried about delivery. It's never going to go above 50%. I don't think I have to worry about it. I've got spread out restaurants. He had like Einstein Bagel Companies and Moe's Mexican Grill or something. But he said, we're never going to need it. It's not going to matter to us. Well, first of all, I don't know that that's true. He may be underestimating the problem. But I would have two observations about this. First of all, it seems to me that you want to plan for what can happen as opposed to what you think is going to happen. So you always want to plan for the possibility. What if it does go to 50% and you're not prepared? You're screwed. There's no downside to preparing for 50%. There's only a downside preparing for 20% and having 50% happen. That could be an enormous problem. And it also occurred to me that in a lot of ways, it seems to me that restaurants especially, they should want delivery to go to 50%. Because if deliveries go above 50%, it means that customers are reaching out to them and choosing them as opposed to just driving down the street and picking whichever one that happens to be more convenient, right? There's a choice being made, and that's incredibly important. You know, the thing about online is it does require the consumer to make choices in a different kind of way, which is why it's really important for retailers, whether they're restaurants or supermarkets, to do their best to connect with consumers and communicate their value proposition, their brand equity in a way that is absolutely compelling. They have to tell their story better. By doing those things, you become the choice as opposed to just an afterthought. And I think that's really important. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.